Now, last year you released the 10th studio album, the eclectic Okie Dokie.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I released that album last year, and it was the first time I made an album of the sort of music that I listen to, because most of the music I've recorded, I suppose, over the last 10 years is all probably not the sort of music I listen to. It's what quite a lot of autobiographical stuff. But I listen to a lot of Frank Sinatra and Beatles and actually quite upbeat stuff. And I thought, I really want to make a record like that. And so we did with Okie Dokie. And it was fun as well, because it was the first time I got to work with Richard Bryans. He did the lead introducing all the band on the album, which was fun. Yeah.
That was good. Now,
Yeah.
if I've got this right, you're currently working on a Shakespearean rock project called Sonnet 155.
That's right. Yeah, it's a beast of a project. I started it long before the last album, Okie Dokie. I started this about 3.5 years ago. Because I worked at the Globe, Shakespeare's Globe, in '99, I learned a lot about Shakespeare, and I got really into it. And then I sort of forgot about it. And then 3 years ago, I started thinking about it again, and decided I wanted to make an album that was, that would somehow be linked to Shakespeare, but not about Shakespeare, not sort of ruffled collars and all that sort of stuff, yeah. or 16th century shawms and bagpipes or anything like that. It was just something that to do with the wisdom that you often hear in some of those plays, which a lot of the people that listen to my music sometimes feel a bit daunted by, because it's quite lofty, And I thought, well, it'd be nice to slip a few, gems of wisdom into a 3-minute pop song. So that's kind of what I've done, yeah.
And you've managed to get a couple of very famous people involved in the project as well. So Derek Jacobi and Syrian McKellen.
Yeah. Well, when I started, I sat down. I thought, I'm going to start work on this album. I thought, I have huge respect for actors. It's a profession that I've grown up in a family of actors, and it's never been something I thought I could do. But what I really loved about it was that actors really know how to make good choices, because they could obviously play a part in many different ways. And of course, I had this beginning point with this album of making a choice, which was, there's so many plays and so many themes in Shakespeare, and why don't I ask some actors who performed Shakespeare thousands of times to make the choices for me, so on what to write about. And so I wrote to Ian McKellen, or Gandalf, as he's well known in some circles, and Derek Jacobi, and I thought, well, if they write back to me, I'll get started. But if they don't, then I'm off the hook. But they all wrote back to me. I had to sit down and write the album, which was kind of lovely, because normally I do so much work on my own, and it sort of felt like there were these very, esteemed Shakespearean actors peering over my shoulder as I was writing this album, which, I think probably disciplined me into making sure that it would be, really good. And I think it is really good.
So where did the title Sonnet 155 come from?
Well, that's funny, because it's the only song on the album that's not directly got anything to do with Shakespeare. It's actually the poem that I wrote 3 days after I fell in love with my fiancée. And I suppose it's my sonnet in a way. But, Shakespeare wrote 154 sonnets, and some people have said, oh, you're saying you're writing the next one, and it's not at all. It's really just that it's kind of saying that Shakespeare continues, that it doesn't stop. It keeps going. And I think if you look in popular culture these days, you'll see that all the time. It's just everywhere, and he's quite the man of the moment, even though he was writing 400 years ago, and I think that's very special in itself. Yeah.
What's the future for Tim Arnold at the moment, the near future?
Well, what's happened since I finished recording the album is that we're going to be doing 3 special events, concerts of the album in London this May at the Almeida Theatre in Islington, and I had done a few shows of the music from Sonic 155 about a year ago with a band, but I felt that it wasn't quite enough. And certainly the albums, it's quite an eclectic mix of music. There's a lot of orchestra stuff, classical music, and very heavy rock music, and even some operatic sections. So it's taken some time trying to get an ensemble together to do that live, and because of the inspiration from Shakespeare, I always wanted to see if there'd be a way to include some text from Shakespeare and perhaps some actors doing that on stage in between the songs. And that is what we are doing now. Yeah, we've got this fabulous cast of actors and a 10-piece band. I think we're going to literally explode onto the stage on the 2nd of May. It's going to be quite wild.
That sounds fantastic, though.